Welcome to the Seahawkers podcast with your hosts, Adam Emmert.
Aaron Rodgers can't be the number one player in the league. He slipped last year. He did. I can't blame him. He's probably distracted by his super hot girlfriend. Like, I understand. He's got other things.
And Brandon Schultz.
We need to be more encouraging of Pete Prisco, Adam. We need to help him along. Good job. You had Russell in the top 50. We've told you many times to do better, and now you are. We're proud of you, Pete.
Go Hawks!
On a quest to own the West, yippee-ki-yay, we make the ground shake. On game day, 12 man, yeah, he's feeling it is vital. The Seahawks coming to take division titles.
Welcome to the Seahawkers podcast. I'm Brandon Schultz, member of the Military Seahawkers, and joining me, as always, my good buddy, Adam Emmert.
Good to talk to you today, Brandon. We're continuing our Know Your Rivals series this week with some good conversation with the fellas from the Rams podcast. I think you guys will enjoy that. We got a little bit of Seahawks news to get to as well, but we're making it, man. We're making it through the doldrums here. We're almost there.
We're almost there.
To training camp.
It's so close. Training camp is just a week away, Adam. And so we're going to be talking with James and Bear of the LA Rams podcast, get their take on what they've seen from the Rams over this offseason, how they feel about the move, and they're actually in LA, so I can imagine that they're really, really excited to have a hometown team now.
Yeah.
And we'll get into it with them.
Where do you want to start here this week, Brandon? I mean, because there's a few things in the news. It's not huge, but Michael Bennett's barking again.
Yeah, definitely not a huge news week, but I guess that was the big thing, and that's maybe where we should start this off, is that there's Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk had a couple quotes from Michael Bennett, and it's not unusual from what we've seen from Michael Bennett over the last, ever since he signed his contract.
Before the ink was even dry, we've been hearing this, right?
Well, it is because, yes, the Seahawks got this great deal with Michael Bennett, and we really have to go back to when Michael Bennett signed that contract, because it wasn't the type of deal where Michael Bennett had 1 year left and, similar to Doug Baldwin, where he was getting an extension. No, Michael Bennett was free and clear of his contract with the Seahawks on a 1 year deal, went to the open market. And there wasn't a market, believe it or not, for Michael Bennett at that time. And that was after the Super Bowl season. And, it's kind of shocking that at that moment, yes, they had a huge amount of depth along that defensive line, but it for some reason only, worth a $24 or $28.5 million contract over 4 years. He still has 2 years left on that deal. And he's still not quite happy about it. And to me, it's not that surprising, because, the thing is with Michael Bennett, if you interview him as a reporter and you ask him that question, you're going to get a consistent answer of how happy he is with the contract. And the answer, not very happy.
No, I mean, we've heard all the time. Is he underpaid in this league? Yes. Is he under contract? Yes. Is he still unhappy? Yes. Is anything going to change? No, I'm so over this story. I just don't care anymore. Yeah, I mean, does that make sense at all, Brandon? Like, I really have Michael Bennett contract fatigue. Like, I don't care. I don't care. Like, maybe if he came out and he railed against his agent for a change or something, because he's mad at the team somehow. Be pissed at your agent for that's the best deal he could get you on the open market.
And he's no longer with that agent anymore, and he has Marshawn Lynch's old agent, Doug Henderson.
I understand all that, but you never hear him, throwing, what was it, Drew Rosenhaus?
Yeah.
You don't hear him out, just talking about how terrible Drew Rosenhaus was.
Sure. And I guess the quote...
Call me when there's something new, I guess is where I'm at right now.
The quote that jumped out at people from the Mike Florio story is it's never ending, Bennett said, especially when people are getting new contracts every day. You sit there and you're like, damn, really? I'm just at the point where it's kind of like, if you don't think I'm valuable, then get rid of me.
No, not only do we think you're valuable, just thanks for the break. Look, it's just, I just don't care. I can't even get into it anymore. He's screwed up. He's getting underpaid. Tough break, dude.
It is a tough break, and that's the thing. You go back and you look at what Darrelle Revis did during his years, and if you want to be a mercenary and go year to year on your deals and risk injuries, then that's when you can potentially take these big paydays. And it is tough. It's tough to see Von Miller making huge bank, and some of these other guys along the defensive line, Malik Jackson, going and getting a bunch of money. It's tough when you play that position and you see guys just making a lot more than you do. It would be hard, but it's kind of the system that you're in. And I hopefully the Seahawks are able to kind of smooth things over, and they have a little bit of cap room to do it. I keep going back to that idea of we see quarterbacks sign, renegotiate their deals, restructure their deals with 2 years left on their contract. Maybe with a lot of these salaries of defensive line players, maybe you start seeing that happening more and more with defensive line, getting new deals done with 2 years left.
Surprise, Michael Bennett. Contracts go up every year. I mean, I understand it's hard to see more guys get paid more and more, but you know the game. I mean, it's not like, just like you mentioned, Darrelle Revis hasn't been playing it for the last however many years. I'm sorry you chose security over more money, but you did. And John Schneider's not going to break precedent. Look, he's going to have to play this year, and this is the last year he's going to have to play under this deal. The Seahawks will either pay him next year or they'll release him. They'll do one or the other. That's long and short of it. But this year, it ain't happening. It's a non-story. And I'm fine. He can bark all he wants about it. Just shut up about it, media. I'm over it. Just stop it. Nothing's changing.
Yeah, stop taking the media's calls. We got a Twitter question here from @ALofaBrad. Says, do you think Bennett will be a Seahawk in 2018? I'm starting to think not. And that may be a bad thing. After squeezing 2 more low-paying years out of him, it may be better to just let him go to free agency and get a good comp pick for the insane contract someone will offer a 32-year-old DE who will not have to be overpaying him.
I guess it all just depends on how much the cap goes up over the next couple of years. But as it looks right now, I mean, I feel like the Seahawks are close to their ceiling as to guys they can really pay. I mean, I don't know that we could have an even cheaper offensive line to offset a Michael Bennett contract. I don't know that that's possible.
You can't have a cheaper offensive line. They have...
No, I mean, I'm sure it is possible, but I mean, like, it's too much, right? You're compromising your team at that point. I don't see him as being a Seahawk in 2018. That's my gut.
Well, next offseason is going to be the telltale sign, because if they do allow him to go into his last year of his contract, under the current contract, that's just, well, I don't think Michael Bennett, for what you said, is they might have to cut him or trade him, because he probably just won't even go into that last year of his deal at that amount of money, because that to him.
No, if you're Mike Bennett and you go into that 4th year and they're not going to give you that raise like they have again and again with other players, and when you talk about the precedent, then yeah, at that point you hold out and you give John Schneider the biggest FU you possibly can.
Yeah, that's what would have to happen. So I think it'll come down to, and maybe they make a Cliff Averill type deal where, it's come November and they work something out in the middle of the season, and all of a sudden he's extended and making more money. Maybe that's what happens.
They kind of do it in that intermediate area, right? Where it's like, well, we didn't technically do it when there was 2 years left on his contract, but we got him a little bit before there was just a year left.
Right.
That's a good point.
Maybe that'll happen.
Enough about hypotheticals.
Enough about hypotheticals. I was just getting ready to ask you another hypothetical.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well, actually,
right.
no, this isn't a hypothetical.
Bennett contract hypothetical.
This has to do with our offensive line. And you mentioned...
That is a hypothetical, the entire thing.
There's a lot of questions. Yeah. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And to me, the biggest question, I'm sitting here thinking about it just over this last week. And this is what's hard for me. If you had to bet on one player on the Seahawks offensive line being a lock at any given position, which player do you choose? You have to pick the player and lock them in to where they're going to start the season.
Oh, okay. So out of the guys that are shuffling around right now, not who's a lock to have a good season, but what
just
player is a
to
lock
start
to start at their position?
Right.
Gary Gilliam.
You're picking Gary Gilliam?
Yeah, there's not another dude with left tackle skill set. Like he's the only dude. He's the only dude. There's no other guy. As long as he doesn't get hurt, and he's a young guy, so that leads me to believe he won't get hurt, then it's Gary Gilliam. He's my one lock. Everybody else, I don't know. Who the hell knows?
That would be the guy that I would pick too.
Yeah,
but
you're picking a guy.
You're picking a guy that's switching from the right tackle spot
after he switched from tight end.
Right.
This is what we're doing. This is what we're doing on the offensive line, man. It still is. It still is. Eugene Monroe decided to retire instead of come and play for the Seahawks.
Yeah. It's that was a little bit bummer to hear that in the news too.
Oh, jeez.
Big
time.
I could see this team having some Eugene Monroe depth on the left side, but maybe he saw it too that he wouldn't be guaranteed a starting position.
Well, nobody's ever guaranteed a starting position on the Seahawks.
No.
I mean, that's the way it is.
And that's part of it. Well, what are you nervous about, or where do you have some questions lingering, Adam?
All right, so here's one thing that's been bothering me lately, and this might sound a little weird because, I mean, you've heard a lot of glowing reports about Tyler Lockett lately, right? Like, it kind of started a few months ago, right? Like, the idea that people were kind of getting on board, like, oh, Tyler Lockett's pretty good. Like, he kind of showed a little bit last year, and you're like, yeah, he's kind of sneaky good, right? I mean, he could maybe push Jermaine for the 2 spot, or who knows exactly how that'll work. But, yeah, he's really coming into his own, and, he's a good route runner, and he's kind of sneaky fast, and, a heck of a return guy. And, everybody's I felt under the radar, right?
Yeah, but after talking to Mike Wright from the Fantasy Footballers podcast, the news seems to be spreading like wildfire that Tyler Lockett is posed to have this breakout season that everybody appears to be ready for.
There's a new article every day that Tyler Lockett's going to blow the lid off the league. The hype train has way left the building. It's starting to make me nervous because now the expectation is being built to like where he's some sort of meld between Jerry Rice and Antonio Brown or something, and like he's going to rewrite the entire record books in one season, and just like the hype train has gotten out of control, man. It's starting to get me worried because you start putting that much pressure on a player, guys can have that sophomore slump at that point. I mean, hasn't anybody thought about the idea that he could have a sophomore slump? Those things happen.
Well, and for receivers too, the second year is notoriously tough for NFL wide receivers. It's not usually until the 3rd or 4th season where you really see that breakout year from a wide receiver.
Dude, I don't like it. It's just, maybe it's because I've never liked being a front runner.
Yeah.
Like, that's never been my personality. Like, it just makes me nervous.
Slow the hype train, says Adam Emmert.
Does this not make you nervous at all?
It makes me a little nervous.
Okay.
Because it's not under the radar anymore.
Yeah, you're right.
But I don't think NFL defenses going up against the Seahawks are going to overlook Tyler Lockett anymore either.
Maybe the only good thing that comes out of it is everybody's going to overlook Paul Richardson this year.
Yes, that's what's going to happen. Or Doug Baldwin.
Yeah. No, nobody's overlooking Doug Baldwin next year.
No, and they could, and he would still get his 3rd down toe tap catches on the sideline. There's no stopping that.
There's no stopping that. How about Doug Baldwin and his little Instagram promotional tour of each and every Seahawk wide receiver over the last few days?
Oh, this is something I haven't seen.
Oh, yeah, haven't you? Oh, okay. So, basically over the last, couple days, he'll post a picture of Jermaine Kearse and be like, Jermaine Kearse, Mr. Clutch. Nobody's ever come down with more clutch catches ever, whether it's this game, that game. I love him. He's my buddy. He's a awesome friend. Rah, rah, rah. Check him out at blah, 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 whatever his Twitter handle is, right?
Okay.
Tyler Lockett. So shifty and speedy, and it's almost like a little hype, 2 paragraphs, about how much he loves
a little
the dude.
Hype video for each one of his teammates.
Yeah, Kevin Smith, Swiss Army knife for the wide receiver core, and he's going down the whole thing, pumping up all his dudes. You haven't seen any of this?
No, I'm gonna go look now.
Okay, well, open your Bleacher Report team stream, dude. It's in there.
I guess.
Yeah. So I don't know. It was interesting to me. I like the idea that as the leader of the wide receiver room, he's pumping all the dudes up. And this is the opposite of the Tyler Lockett thing where everybody on the outside is pumping everything up. This is one of your boys. This is the boy. This is your lead alpha dog being like, look at the dogs I roll with, man.
Yeah.
Check these homeboys out.
I like that. See, man, I need to do better and follow our guys on the team a little bit better. And, another guy who we've told over and over to do better is Pete Prisco, Adam.
Is it time to take yet another trip to the far-off land of Prisco World?
La 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 la, la 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 la, Prisco's World. La 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 la, la 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 la, Prisco's World. Prisco has his hot tastes and nothing more. That's Prisco's World.
Oh my God, Prisco's World has ever been as ridiculous as that theme music. How did you get Elmo to do that?
I got connections when you're in the podcast world long enough.
Wow.
And apparently Elmo, also not a fan of Pete Prisco.
Oh, man. Oh, that's so perfect. Because the silliness that comes out of Prisco's World it sounds just like that. So
I think like Elmo, how he writes Elmo's World in crayon, Pete Prisco also gets his ramblings out in crayon. And that's how we end up.
Type him up. Yeah. That must be how it is, because I don't know if those of you recall last year he did his little overrated on every team. The one player is overrated, and then the overall overrated player in the league. And I'm sure nobody would be shocked to hear that last year it was none other than Russell Carrington-Wilson.
Yeah.
Who, point of fact, went on to lead the league in passer rating at 110 last year. Overrated.
Yeah,
that Russell
totally
Wilson
overrated.
Guy. Yeah, so he's dead on with these things. Well, this year, at first, when you look at Russell Wilson, he starts picking on and be like, all right, at least he's picking on somebody his own size. This year, he bit off a little more than he can chew with Bam, Bam, Cam. His number one player in the league who is overrated, Bam, Bam, Cam. Well, of course it had to be a Seahawk, but that's the last dude I pick out. That is the last dude I pick out and say that about.
And that was the shocking thing to me. Now, I can understand maybe if you're feeling dangerous of picking Cam as the most overrated player on the Seahawks, because as we watch the NFL Top 100, seeing Cam up at number 32, I think a lot of us were maybe surprised to see him up that high, but that's because Cam's peers they respect Cam Chancellor. They saw what he did after holding out the first two games of the season. They saw him bat the ball out of the end zone to single-handedly win the game against the Detroit Lions, and also rip the ball out of Adrian Peterson's hands in the playoffs and help the Seahawks win that game. If that moment doesn't happen, the Seahawks playoff run ends before it gets to Carolina.
When did the Seahawks defense start to become good last year? It was after Cam had played a couple games and got back into game shape.
Right.
After sitting out for it. I mean, it's not an odd correlation that once Cam got his game tuned up, the defense became better. This is what Prisco had to say on Planet Prisco. Basically is this. Chancellor is a big hitter, which is why the highlight shows love him. But he's never been good in coverage, and that was exposed even more last season. In the past 4 seasons, he has 6 interceptions, and he doesn't do a great job when asked to cover tight ends. The game has changed. Some 10 to 15 years ago, Chancellor would have been an all-out star. But with offenses spread out, he's become more of a liability. Offenses have been spread out the entire time Cam Chancellor's been in the league.
Yeah. Prisco, in the intro, compares Cam Chancellor to Ronnie Lott and says he doesn't live up to Hall of Famer Ronnie Lott at this point of his career. Well, no kidding. He's not there yet because he's not that far into his NFL career.
Right. And you don't have to be Ronnie Lott to not be overrated.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you can be damn good in your era and not be overrated. Look, I'm sorry. Not everybody's going to be Ronnie Lott. Barely Ronnie Lott was Ronnie Lott. Like, I mean, he was maybe the best to ever do it. What, that's the standard? So what? Like, so Peyton Manning is forever overrated because he wasn't Joe Montana?
Right.
Like, I mean, like, what's the, Bart Starr was overrated because he's not Joe Montana? Come on, man.
You know who you will agree that's overrated, though? Dan Marino is overrated.
Oh, yeah, Dan Marino. No, actually, Dan Marino's not overrated. I just hate it.
Well, and so Cam had a response to, the subtweets were pretty obvious. It says, these critics look more and more ignorant at how much they don't know about football and defense. That sounds like something you'd say about Pete Prisco. Everybody sees a tight end catch a ball or scores and says, that's Cam's fault. Learn defense. Don't believe everything you hear. I'm strong enough to take the blame, but please learn our defense before you go believing everything you hear and read. Get educated.
Yeah, I think what he's saying is watch Kerry Williams game tape.
Right.
I think that's what he's trying to say there.
I'm pretty sure that's the subtext of those subtweets.
Jesus. Well, and then he came out like it wasn't even a subtweet. Like Cam's not a passive aggressive Northwesterner. Okay. Like he came out not while classy. Like he brought it straight on. So I mean, he says at Prisco CBS, thank you for the publicity. God bless you. The only judgment I care about is God. You're doing a great job in your field.
That's passive aggressive, telling him he's doing a great job.
No, that's sarcastic. That's not passive aggressive. Sarcasm is not passive aggressive.
Okay.
But yeah, see, that's passive aggressive. Oh, bless your heart for that. Like that's passive aggressive when you don't mean it at all.
That was in there too. He said, God bless you.
Yeah, he did, didn't he? Okay. All right, fair enough. Fair enough.
But so when you go down that list, to me, there's a name that's left off this list that Rob Staten brought up on Twitter as the most overrated player. I'll let you think about that. To me, when I run down this list, I see a lot of guys that I wouldn't say they're overrated. They're just, guys that are good. I mean, they're not, great players, but they're good. And to me, if I'm going to pick somebody from his list that's the most overrated player in the NFL, it would be DeMarco Murray.
Yeah, that's clearly an easy one, right?
Right.
I mean,
why wouldn't you go with the easy one?
One great year behind an amazing offensive line, and then basically goes to wither and die in Chip Kelly's offense, and he'll have 700 yards rushing next year in Tennessee.
But like Martellus Bennett for the Patriots, how is he overrated? Like people don't think he's like the greatest thing ever. He's a good tight end.
He's a top 5 tight end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's that overrated?
I don't know. I think he's rated exactly as he plays.
Yeah.
He needs to, who's overrated is Pete Prisco at his job.
Yeah. Well, the other guy.
Actually, no, that can't be true because everybody thinks he sucks. So
he's accurately rated.
Yeah.
But no, Rob Staten brought up the name, and I'm not even going to let you guess. It's Andrew Luck.
Ooh.
The highest paid player in the league. Not the best quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah.
You could peg him as potentially the most overrated.
Yeah, that is very true, actually, because he's not even the best quarterback from his draft class.
Yeah.
All right, Rob Staten.
Yeah.
Solid with his
pick.
facts, logic, and reason. I like it.
Well, that does it for our first entry of Prisco's World with our new theme music, Adam.
That was good. Good work by you, Brandon. That's the production value goes up yet again. Thank you to all of you on Patreon who helped make that possible. Without you guys donating to the show, we wouldn't get to do fun little things like that because Elmo don't work for free.
Yeah. Well, what do you say, Adam? We get to this conversation with James and Bear of the LA Rams podcast.
Sounds good. I'm excited for this one, man. I'm excited. I think we're going to have some fun conversation regarding the best in the West when it comes to running backs.
Fans, we want to have the loudest stadium in the NFL.
To help us all come together as the 12th Ram, we've created Ram Rules.
Follow these 5 rules to give our team dome field advantage.
Together as one, we can do it.
We can do it! Ram Rule 1.
3rd down and goal.
When the Rams offense is at work at the line,
Ram Rule 2.
Shout it out.
He's got a first down.
Every first down for the Rams, our announcer says St. Louis, you scream
first down.
Ram Rule 3.
On 3rd down, let's help our Rams by making some noise! Yeah!
I can't hear you.
Ram Rule 4.
He goes down and get it, in trouble, sack.
Every time we get to the quarterback, I want to hear you yell, sack!
Pocket collapsing, he's sacked again.
Sack!
Ram Rule 5.
Josh Brown to kick it off.
Leading up to every kickoff, let's slow clap it out.
And continuing on with our Know Your Rival series this week, we welcome on from the LA Rams podcast. We have James Kroger and Bear Motter here to talk about the division rival Did I say LA Rams?
You did. You got it right out of the gate.
I see. It's almost becoming unconscious. I just have to say it enough times because while we were talking Arizona Cardinals, I did let a St. Louis Rams slip, but I'm getting there. So yes, James Bear, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having us on. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I really love having to talk with you guys, especially being now closer division rivals.
Yes, it's and the thing is that really, if for folks that listen to the show, they know that my sports hatred for the Rams it runs really high because not only does Fisher break out the trick plays every time that the Rams play the Seahawks, you guys now have bragging rights in the division over the Seahawks. You guys beat Seattle both times last year, and that hurts me.
Well, not only that, but 3 out of the last 4. I mean, it's been
well. If you want to rub it in, I mean, you could go that far. But
but no, you make a good point. I mean, and I know Pete Carroll has that written somewhere on a board, and it's only a matter of time those guys come down here. And we were just talking this other day, me and James, saying I think it's week 2. It's our first home game against Seattle, and it's going to be a big test for us. And for Seahawks, they should be taking that game just as serious because they want to come and beat us.
It is. We'll be taking it very seriously. But I'm curious if you guys, why is it that the Rams seem to get so geeked up to play the Seahawks? It seems like it's like the Super Bowl every year for them. We get your guys' best effort every year. It's not even close.
Well, you know what? I think that's where the Seahawks are going right now. I think everyone wants to beat the Seahawks. It's weird that
they're the team to beat.
Exactly. And me and James, actually, we lived up in the Seattle area for a long time, and we saw that Northwest hate. You always hear the East Coast bias, West Coast bias. Well, there was a lot of Northwest hate coming on as they were getting better and better. And so, especially being the division rival and everyone's talking Cardinals are the next best and the Niners had their run, I think, then St. Louis, now LA, is kind of just really taking it a point to be like, hey, don't forget about us. Don't look over us.
Well, some may argue, too, that this is probably the toughest division in the league. I mean, I would say so. I don't know if you guys agree, but and having said that, I personally believe that Seattle's probably the best team in that division. So, we have them on the chopping block here, and we're ready to battle. I mean, like Bear said, the last 3 or 4 games have been pretty close. So.
Well, let's talk about just how close it feels like, because obviously, beating the Seahawks the last 2 years. And then really the Rams kind of have, not only with the move to LA, kind of stolen the talk of the offseason. You guys go and you trade a bunch of draft picks to move up to get the number 1 pick in the 2016 draft. As fans of the team, did it feel like? How did that make you feel seeing that happen?
It made me feel real good because when they made this move and it was kind of like you're coming to LA. LA's the Hollywood town. You got to make a splash. And they're doing everything the right way as far as making an aggressive push to be good now. They want to win. They went out and they looked 1-2 years ahead and said, okay, there's not a quarterback we really want. So they went it and did it now, which I'm okay with. Spent some money, brought some people in, filled in, the D-line. We got some corners that we added. And they're really trying to add depth. So, like you mentioned, kind of stealing the show of the offseason, Hard Knocks is going to be the highlight of that.
Well, there's so many eyeballs on the team right now. You mentioned getting the number 1 draft pick. They're going to be on Hard Knocks. They made the big move. They have so much to prove right now. I mean, I think they ranked last or second to last in almost most of the offensive stats last year, obviously besides rushing with our man Gurley there. But, I mean, we have a lot to prove. We have a lot of eyeballs on us now, especially being in LA and Hollywood. And not only Hard Knocks, but there's that new show on ETV. I don't know if you guys have heard that, but I think it's called Football in Hollywood.
Very clever title.
Yeah, so they're going to follow around 4 players, I think. Kenny Britt's going to be one of them, and just kind of follow them adjusting to LA and a little bit of their home life. And I mean, like they said, we're coming at it from the bottom here. We got plenty to prove.
I think it's going to be interesting. One more point to that is they're making a big push right now, and Les Snead and Jeff Fisher are at the top, holding hands, leading the charge. But unfortunately, if this thing doesn't go the way they want,
are running out.
yeah, their contracts are almost hand in hand too, and it's going to be a flush the toilet if this thing doesn't work out. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays. They're putting all their chips in because I think this is their last push
Pressure's
to
on.
show that they can do it.
Yeah.
So they make the big trade. They take Goff early, obviously, with the number 1 pick. And some of the early reports coming out of some of the preliminary training camps and all that sort of thing was that Goff was having a hard time right out of the gate. Is that something you guys are still hearing? Is it something that it was just kind of like rookie jitters, got in there, kind of got it taken care of out of rookie minicamp, and now he's ready to rock? Or, I mean, is he going to be the day one starter? Or are we really looking at, who's the backup? Why am I driving? It's not Kellen Clemens anymore. It's
Case Keenum.
Case Keenum, thank you. Yeah,
and I'll tell you right now, it's not going to be Case Keenum. And here's kind of my play on this is, listening. Les Snead had a talk yesterday, and he kind of addressed this. And because obviously the LA media is just picking that apart right now. Like, oh, my gosh, he's struggling. And Les Snead said, hey, listen, look back to his fresh year at Cal. He did the same thing. He was a freshman that started right away. He had his little hiccups. But what they loved about him is that year 2, year 3, he learned those things. He learned how to move in the pocket. He picked things up. So that was one of those things that stood out to them saying, hey, listen, we know he's going to be a new city. Things are going to be tough. But this is a guy that's going to get beat up, hit to the ground a bunch of times, but he's going to get up and learn and go forward. So I'm not too worried about it. And then Les went on to talk about when he was in Atlanta and they had drafted Matt Ryan. And I can't remember the veteran that they brought in as a safety net, but it was nobody special. But he said, we really wanted Matt Ryan to be the guy. And he said preseason game number 3 is really where we gave him the reins, let him do the whole playbook, and he really proved to himself that, he was going to be the starter. So I expect some, big hard knocks, drama-filled. Game 3, we're going to sit the quarterbacks down and say, hey, listen, we're going with the number 1 pick. Because why would you trade for him and then just sit him for Case Keenum? It's not like we have some veteran that is going to go in there and win in some games. It's like you might as well throw the rookie you gave the house for and let him go to town.
Yeah, and we finished OTAs and we haven't even started training camp yet. And like you guys say, like he's a rookie. And, the positive aspect of that is he's proven that he's been able to adjust and pick up quickly. And honestly, I have a feeling he's going to be starting game 1.
Well, I mean, doesn't seem like there's going to be a lot to pick up in the Fisher playbook. I mean, what else does he have to learn other than how to throw a bubble screen to Tavon Austin, right?
Or hand it to
Gurley.
Yeah, and that's it. And you know what? I actually compare this a lot to where your Seahawks were a few years ago when they had Russell Wilson. I mean, he wasn't throwing the ball 30 times. If you guys were winning and doing well, he was throwing it 20 times, and he was handing it to beast mode, and you let your defense go eat. And that's kind of where we're at right now. We have a young, solid defense that should be top 3 in the league, and we've got a running back that really should be top 3, top 5 in the league.
And not really comparing Wilson to Goff in that sense, but I think the foundation of the team right now is similar.
Exactly. Don't give him too much in the rookie year. Let him just go hand the ball off, do a bubble screen, get a first down, and not turn the ball over.
And we have another dump-off option in all the 300 tight ends that we got going on right now. I think there's 4 on the team, and somebody's going to come through there, and that's another threat there, hopefully.
Well, yeah, you guys drafted a tight end. Now, that was the interesting part of this draft. Now, you guys traded away a lot of picks. Lost your second round, third round, but you did get some picks toward the back end. But the interesting thing for me watching the Rams draft is that you guys took one defensive player, a 6th round linebacker, Josh Forrest out of Kentucky, and everybody else on offense. It tells me that Jeff Fisher and the Rams, they think that the defense is pretty well set.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. And they had to address offensive weapons after you get your quarterback number 1. James mentioned it. We actually got 2 tight ends, and both of them are pass catching, down the field. Higbee's a little bit more of a speed guy. Yeah. But yeah, that was definitely something they addressed. And I think at the end they said, hey, we've got 1 pick left. Let's find value and a guy we like. And that was Forrest. And thank God, listening and learning about what he does is he's just going to hopefully go run and chase the quarterback. And so he should fit well in this fast defense that's flying around. And we'll see if he gets much action. Hopefully he can at least kind of get a special teams role and get a, situational defensive, plays. But you're right. We're pretty comfortable with our defense right now.
Yeah. I mean, NFL.com's Greg Rosenthal basically just said that our defensive line is probably the best in the NFL currently. So, I mean, that's his opinion. But I think speaking to that, I mean, I don't know if you want to touch on a secondary, but I think they're feeling pretty confident with D right now.
Yeah, I was actually very curious about how you guys felt about the defense, because there was a lot of losses on the defense this year in free agency. I mean, you see James Laurinaitis gone, see Janoris Jenkins gone, see Chris Long gone, you see McLeod gone. And is Nick Fairley still with the team? I thought he was gone as well. Am I wrong?
Gone. But you're right.
Okay.
We did a lot of movement. But the great thing is we've got Gaines coming back. That's going to be healthy. We picked up Rosenthal. Is that a quarterback that we picked up? So we've added depth. We've added easily to the front. I mean, so as much as left, we've added as well. And with the, Ayers and those guys coming off the corners, I think they feel really comfortable. Tremaine Johnson proved to himself last year, proved the whole team that he's a number one.
Ranked second in interceptions.
Go Grizz!
Yeah, that's right. He's from the Montana Grizzlies.
See how we go. I think adjustments too. I mean, they moved Ogletree to the inside. So.
Yeah, and that was one thing Jeff Fisher and the defensive coordinator basically said the other day, is that he's adapting so well to being in the middle linebacker. And Laurinaitis was a staple of the team, right? And they made it in the same day. They got rid of Long and they got rid of Laurinaitis, and they kind of just said, we're moving, we're starting fresh. And I think everyone's taken to it. And I guess we'll really, again, I'll mention this 100 probably more times, is on Hard Knocks is going to be a great in-depth look of seeing how this defense is going to grow and really fill in those gaps.
You guys and your Hard Knocks and other TV shows, the Cardinals get their All or Nothing show. As someone who follows the NFC West, it does not. It helps fuel that sports hate that I have for the other teams.
You know what we have to watch of your Seahawks is all your playoff football games you guys are in.
That's right.
You know what? You get your own show. It's typically called the Super Bowl.
And Russell Wilson getting married to a beautiful lady. His Instagram just driving me crazy. He's just living a great life.
Yeah, we get enough of Russell Wilson updates.
Yeah.
Well, that was going to be my punchline, but you guys beat me to it, so well
done. Yeah, Russell Wilson. I'm tired of hearing about Russell Wilson and his marriage. Like, I'm over it.
Yeah, I really want football to be back because we're over it,
back
too.
Back to football, Wilson. We know you're a perfect human.
Exactly.
Well, so the other transaction on defense I want to get your guys' take on. Mark Barron, signed a big deal here this offseason. How are you guys feeling about him?
Yeah, and that was another thing, and you could tell where the Rams really, I think it was 5 years, $45 million, something like that. But they did. They basically locked him in. They felt some value there, and just the same thing we talked earlier. It's going to be it's good to see if he's going to come and play like his paycheck. And you always get nervous when someone gets that big money. I think that's what they're doing with Tremaine Johnson, is they're not ready to give him that big money. Yeah. They want to see 2 years in a row of that production before they give him that crazy top 5, top 10 cornerback money that he is probably going to request if he has back-to-back years like that. So I'm actually really excited about him. I'm really excited about all of our linebackers. Obviously, we're really jacked up about Rams right now, so there's not much that I wouldn't say I'm excited about. But it's going to be interesting because that defense showed a lot of things last year, and they showed they can score points, which is really going to help us out. Because if they can occasionally get us into that inside the 20 or get a fumble recovery for a touchdown. That's what they were doing last year to keep us in ball games when we had no quarterback, when it was kind of throw whoever, seat 12, row 5 is going to be our quarterback today. So the defense is going to be the base of what we do again.
Now, one thing I'm curious with the move from St. Louis to Los Angeles, do the Rams rules come from St. Louis to LA too? Or are the Rams rules dead now?
It is pretty interesting. I think they're really trying to connect some of the old with the new, but really it's been the story of just they're back, and you're getting old fans coming back and being proud of that they can get their Eric Dickerson jersey out again and rock it. So we'll see how much comes from St. Louis and how that goes. But right now it's been all transition and all new back to LA.
Well, one thing that I do notice listening to your guys' show, you guys are fired up when it comes to talking Rams. The passion is there. And you guys, it was you recently did some charity work where you guys got to actually interact with some of the players. That was really cool to hear. Talk about what that was like, just having that hands-on experience with guys from the team.
That was awesome, especially how early we are into this whole process. We actually got hooked up with Akeem Ayers Foundation through the Chuck Price interview. He's the NFL agent. He's used to be Akeem's agent. He was Matt Leinert's agent. And he was a huge fan of the show and wanted to get us involved with some of the players and was like, hey, guys, listen, this is the perfect opportunity. Akeem's throwing this charity event at his old high school in Los Angeles. He says a few more linebackers may come out, but, you never know about that kind of stuff. So we decided, hey, we both love football. We both played in our younger days, and we both had some coaching experience with kids. And so the charity event was from the Jim Moore Foundation, the Count Me In Foundation. And basically, we were providing some kind of a mini football camp to underprivileged children. So it was a great experience. I'll let Bear tell his coaching stories, but Akeem was great. We got to chat with him before the camp. Told him all about the show, and then end up about halfway through camp, we see Todd Gurley and Ogletree walking in. So
yeah, it was pretty interesting because when we first got into it, he's like, I'll get you media passes, and we'll try to get you an interview and just kind of cover it and really start that way. And we told him, hey, we're down to do whatever we can do. We're really excited. We'll help out in any way. We show up, and he's like, hey, guys, listen, I apologize. Some of the coaches didn't show. We're going to need some help. And we're like, bing, like, yeah, of course. So the head football coach of the high school comes up and was like, well, what do you guys coach? And I'm thinking like, well, I did punt team, and I was like third string defense. What does that count?
Left bench.
Yeah, left bench. So I was like, well, I was D-line. I'll do D-line. So he's like, well, just think of some D-line drills. And I'm thinking, I don't have D-line drills in the back of my, pocket right now. But we ended up figuring it out. It was a bunch of fun. And the next thing you know, as I'm running my drills, I got really into it, by the way. I got to have a football, and we were getting off the line practice. And next thing I know, I hear this guy go, so what are we doing over here? Look over my shoulder. It's Akeem Ayers. And we just start coaching together. And we're kind of coaching these kids up, and they're really getting into it. And it was just a bunch of fun, and we got to talk to them on the side and learn a little bit more about their passion. And you see these football guys, and you're thinking, oh man, they're so up there, and they're celebrities. And it's a kid, he's 24, 25 years old, and he's just happy we were there. Thanked us. That everyone was really great.
You could tell he was really kind of proud to get back to his old high school and be able to do that in LA. He mentioned when he was growing up, LA didn't even have a football team, so we didn't have that aspect, any chance to do any sort of camps like that, and anybody to look up to in that sense. So, I had a similar experience. They had me do the quarterback drills and basically wanted me to throw like 5 and outs to all these little kids. But as soon as I go over to my station, Akeem decided to take over my coaching role, which I was perfectly fine with because I got to pretend like I was helping him out. But they had a great attitude. It was interesting seeing Todd Gurley show up because you could just tell that this guy's a superstar, and all the parents were kind of cut off from being around on the field and everything, and you could tell they were all kind of giddy over Todd, and some of them were thanking Todd for their fantasy season last year. So they were all super nice. It was a great day, and we got a lot of good pictures out of it, and hopefully some additional conversations coming through.
Well, speaking of Todd Gurley, Adam and I think, have a little bit of a beef because we had a pretty good rookie running back, too, with Thomas Rawls. And unfortunately, his injury going down, it ruined that opportunity to have a really solid rivalry going in to see who was going to win Rookie of the Year. And unfortunately, with Rawls' injury, he goes down. But I still think that coming up this season, we're going to see who really got the best deal with the Rams getting Gurley in the first round or the Seahawks undrafted getting Thomas Rawls.
Well, that's a great point. You said that he was undrafted because if you talk about value, then undrafted and production, he's probably going to get the nod right away. But I'm
just going to go straight production, though, on this year.
Injury, obviously, I don't want to say he proved that he couldn't go through a whole season, but is that the type of running back he is? He's not the 30 carry guy, the 25 carry guy. And I'd love to hear your guys' take on it and think, are you really comfortable with him filling in solo as the Lynch role and taking that 25 carries and beating all the time and kind of going the distance of a season? Because you can have those moments and those breakaway speed, because I've seen the highlights and I picked Rawls up on my fantasy team. It was a great pickup, by the way. But it's going to be interesting to see. My question with him is he going to go the distance?
I look back at his college career, and he was that bell cow. I mean, when he played for Central Michigan after transferring from Michigan, and he really had no problem with that. You look at that ankle injury, too, and that was one of those freaky things, the way that the guy fell on him and it just a tackle. It certainly wasn't like a non-contact injury or anything odd like that. I mean, I remember Adrian Peterson breaking his collarbone earlier in his career, but yet still can go out there and be that bell cow. I have no worries about Thomas Rawls whatsoever. And I pick him, Brandon, I'll say not even on a draft value basis, like who's going to be the better back next year. Thomas Rawls is going to be the better back next year. He averaged almost a yard per carry more than Todd Gurley. He's going to straight up outrush Todd Gurley next year. That's
this
my
is what
prediction.
I love about this, guys, and I can't wait to continue this conversation and having this fun rivalry. I'm a betting man. Yeah. I got my boys back.
Oh.
If we want to come up with something creative, you let me know.
Okay.
And, because I think that's going to be a stretch. I appreciate your support in Rawls, and I think he's going to, I hope he has a great season because that's just going to open up a lot of things for the Seahawks, and I really want our division to do well. And when we beat them, I want them to be good. So, no, you don't think about that because I'll get Gurley all day. If we're taking head on.
Okay,
Adam doesn't even care on the terms.
Yeah, no, I'm saying like we'll come up with some good terms. Let's come up with some good terms, but I'll put it where I'll get a Bosworth haircut, like if if it doesn't win or something, man. Like I'm in.
Let's make this real.
Yeah, I'm going to start brainstorming. Brainstorming sessions are already going right now. Yeah, we'll come back to this. We'll loop back because I'll tell you right now, and I talk fantasy a lot because I'm a fantasy guy. I really enjoy that. And I'm telling you, if Rawls and Gurley are on the board, I'm not picking Rawls at all.
Well, from a fantasy perspective, I'm fine with that.
Well,
I
that's
don't
smart.
do fantasy
That's just smart drafting.
Yeah, I don't do fantasy because it changes the way you watch real football. And in real football, Thomas Rawls is going to outrush Todd Gurley.
Well, I guess.
But see, that's the thing. That's the thing, right? Is that on the Seahawks you have different fantasy options. You have other potential running backs coming in on third down. You have Doug Baldwin. You have potentially Jimmy Graham. You know that Russell Wilson's going to run for 500 yards. So you have options. But Todd Gurley, unless you're handing it off to Tavon Austin, which is kind of the other option, right?
Yeah, I think that's going to happen a little bit more this year. And even as we added Farrell Cooper. And I think Farrell Cooper is like a little twin of Tavon Austin. He's a perfect slot guy who's got tons of speed, and they're going to try to find ways to get the ball in his hands. So yeah, I totally agree with you. But if we want to go back for back, we'll put that out there.
All right, we'll figure something out. But let's talk a little bit more about offensive weapons and how you guys feel about that. Because I mentioned Tavon Austin, and he kind of feels like he's starting to become the guy as far as the receiving core, right? You've had guys in the past, but it kind of feels like that this is the time for him to start developing. Coming out of West Virginia, he was just kind of that small guy who you wanted to get a lot of speed out of to be able to stretch the field, throw the deep ball to. But you start to see the Rams using him in different ways.
Yeah, I think that's key, is basically using him in different ways, because as much as I love him, I don't know if he's going to fill in that solid number 100 catch type guy.
Well, they're using him in multiple ways. I mean, they're handing the ball off to him. He was returning some punts last year, and he did well at that. But he's also got some, rookies coming at him in the wide receiver position as a threat. So he you're totally right. He kind of needs to continue to prove himself.
Yeah, we've got Mike Thomas, and then Farrell Cooper, who I mentioned, who I'm pretty excited about, and we'll see what he can do. But I really am expecting someone like Kenny Britt. This is a breaker. Live or die moment for him. You're coming to LA. You've had one good season in your career and a couple other just injury disappointments, but he's as healthy as he's been. He's a big target. He can catch the ball. There's no reason he shouldn't be our number 2, veteran on the team and giving Tavon Austin some one-on-one coverage looks. So it's going to be interesting because you're right. You mentioned them as offensive weapons. And that's not very much of a term they've been used to in the last couple of years. So we'll see how those guys go. But like I said, it's kind of a new start. I feel like that's the way this team's taking this approach, new city, new start.
And also, I just want to mention Brian Quick, too, because, from the sound of things, he's been really kind of stepping his game up. And it sounded like they're going to be quite the duo this season. So,
and I don't want to continue to go back to you guys as far as Seahawks and getting that role of playing kind of like you guys did as you've developed into being a championship caliber team. But a couple years ago, you asked around the league, and not a lot of people knew the wide receivers on your team, and it was kind of wide receiver by committee. And now obviously we've gotten there where those guys have solidified themselves and they're getting big contracts and they're doing really well. But I think that's where this group has to start as just kind of a wide receiver by a group and, get in where you fit in and not really worry about, am I getting 10 targets a game? Whatever comes your way, make sure that's an opportunity that you succeed in.
Well, it's funny because I think you do see all of the teams in this division kind of mirror each other in that way. Like when the 49ers were at the peak of their game, we started to model a little bit after them where it was that tough running game, tough defense, wide receiver by committee, and until that all develops. And much like you guys are doing that this year. Now, my question is with the quarterback room, you got Jared Goff, obviously, and you guys feel like he could probably be starting right away. What does happen to Nick Foles? I mean, has there been a Nick Foles sighting? Has he even been around? Like, did he even move to LA?
Yeah, it's been in a cave, and I think they're really waiting. And Jeff Fisher mentioned it when they did the draft pick. He kind of said, they made this big deal about him not showing up, and he kind of said like, "Hey, I don't blame him. Like, we don't know what we're gonna do with him yet. So if he wants to go work out and get his mind right somewhere else, we have no problem with that." So they've kind of been happy with having their distance. And it's going to get to a point, though, where, training camp does start and either we're getting rid of him or he's going to suck it up and come in and be a backup or fight for the job. But
he hasn't been mentioned. I mean, he's just an unknown name. I mean, they're talking about Sean Mannion more than they're talking about Foles right now. So it's a mystery to us, too.
Well, I think you guys have a solid plan going on here because this is my theory. You guys are just waiting for Tony Romo to break his collarbone, and then you'll trade him to the Cowboys and get something in return. I think it's a great plan.
For sure. Well, I think that's what Jeff Fishers and Les Snead are waiting for is someone in training camp to go down and to be able to dangle him out there and say, hey, listen, we overpaid for this guy, but he's still got something left. You remember when he was good in Philly? Remember that time? And see if we can move him.
So talking about Jeff Fisher, he's coming up on kind of an interesting milestone in his career, guys. You might be aware of it, but it turns out he is about 9 losses away from becoming the leader in regular season losses. Is Jeff Fisher going to hit that mark this season? Rams, they've been well known for being 7-9 in terms of their record. That would be the mark that puts them over the edge this year.
We did celebrate Jeff Fisher Day last week on 7-9. And we know that he hasn't had a winning season since 2008. So 9 losses this year, over under, Bear. What do you think?
We had this conversation the other day, and over under 9, I don't think they lose 9 games. I think they've got a really tough schedule. I honestly think they'll split with the Seahawks. I think we're going to win the home game, and I think Seahawks are going to win on the road. We should sweep the Niners. We've got a couple other games in there that should be winnable. And then really, I think if we just can string along a couple wins and just rely on our defense, and I think we should. I think we can cross that bridge, but that's a lot of optimism talking right now.
I hear the optimism because I'm curious how you feel really about that second week. Now, winning at home hasn't been an issue with the Rams, but now it's going to be week 2, and it could potentially be, if Jared Goff's starting, that's going to be his very first home game as a rookie quarterback. That could be a lot to ask for a young guy to perform in a big situation like that against a team like Seattle.
Yeah, for sure, and that's a great point. And what I'm excited about, another thing we talked about this division, is that home field advantage. You go to Arizona, loud stadium. Obviously, we all know what happens up in Seattle. We just sold out 70,000 season tickets. They're expanding to hold 90,000 in the Coliseum. That place is going to get loud. And that's the first home game. They're going to make a big deal. And I think everyone's going to be hyped. And so I think it's really going to be, are the Seahawks going to come in and basically be able to keep focus and put some points up and really at that point outscore us? Because I think really it's going to be, I would like to see that game, a 17-14 Rams field goal at the end type of deal.
And even though the first game is away, I mean, it's against the 49ers. So ideally Goff will be starting at that point, and we're coming out of that game as a win and just kind of let him lubricate the gears a little bit and feel a little bit more comfortable than going to face the Seahawks at home. I mean, he'll hopefully, ideally go into that game with a good amount of confidence.
Well, and I'm hoping Gurley gets about 40 carries in that game.
Wear him out early.
Well, you know what? He did a great job last year for as much as we used him. He had 4 games where he didn't play, but I'm excited to see him play a whole year.
It will be interesting to see him play for a whole year. I guess you guys asked me about Thomas Rawls a little bit and his durability. See, that was always been my concern with Todd Gurley. He was kind of injury prone in college. So, I mean, is that something that concerns you guys all if you're going to be using him as the bell cow?
You know, you mentioned that, and that's a good point because my cousin actually went to Georgia, so I followed the team even when he was down there. And man, he was a beast when he was down there. And you're right, he had a knee injury, and that was a pretty ugly one too. But looking forward, I mean, that was the same injury that he was getting over his rookie season. And once he came in, there was really no slowing him down. So I think he's through that. And obviously, I don't know his body and how he's feeling and how it's going to go, but. And all faith that I have is that he healed it. He's still healthy. All signs all reports are saying that he's 100%. So, and he's a big dude.
I saw an interview with him on the Rams official site yesterday, and he said that his ACL is not even of concern to him right now. So he's feeling pretty confident about it too.
And he looked like a linebacker out there. He's a big guy.
He's a big dude.
Now, one guy that we haven't talked about to this point, and I'm kind of surprised, you guys, that we've made it this far, Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
That dude on the defensive line has just spelled misery for Seattle the past few years. And not just to Seattle, but to a lot of teams. How do you guys feel having Aaron Donald on that defensive line?
So confident. You know, Fisher just said that you need to see Donald in person to believe how quick he really is. And, you know, the PFF named him the top the top player of the
number one player in the NFL.
Player in the NFL, taking over that position from J.J. Watt for the past 3 years.
And they're a stat-based website, and that's kind of how they put that together. But no, I mean, with James saying, I think we're super excited about it. And I think the one thing that I'm excited for him is getting to this market and being able to become a nationally known defensive threat, because I just don't think he's getting the recognition nationally as far as how good he is. So it's going to be exciting to see him get the coverage. Obviously, they're going to make him a centerpiece at any point of, you know, the Hard Knocks and even as they start to win. But he's done a great job against the Seahawks, and that's against beast mode and a quick Russell. So
the combination of him and Robert Quinn, I mean, it's going to be a great combo this season. We're really excited about his performance, and the fans are pumped about him too. I mean, we throw some stuff up on Instagram and social media, and we do a lot of Donald artwork, and the fans just really react to that. So he's one of the fan favorites too.
Well, and that's the thing too. I think going to LA, I think people are going to start to realize really how much of a star Aaron Donald is.
Because if you haven't already, man,
right.
I mean, he is unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's got to be like him, or it's got to be J.J. Watt, him, and then Sue now, right? Like if you're looking at defensive tackles, like is that the order?
Yeah.
I feel comfortable. I think
so.
It's tough to knock off J.J. Watt just because he's just such a freak, and he's going on offense and catching touchdowns, and so like he's a do-it-all. So
right.
It's a tough guy to knock off the top, but Aaron Donald's right there knocking on the doorstep.
He's right there.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's part of it too, is that the Rams have so much talent on the defensive line, right? You can't just like with the Texans, you can say, well, we can put 3 guys on J.J. Watt and feel like maybe we can stop him. You can't put 3 guys on Aaron Donald and be able to stop everybody.
Right. That's the nice thing about it. He's with J.J. Watt. You nailed it. You know, he's kind of the centerpiece of that defense. He's the one. I mean, the Clowney's been there, but he's been injured more than anybody. And you know, with him, you're right. You can't take off some of the other guys because then you're just going to get eaten up. So. No, that's really goes back to the you said the over under 9 wins, and I'm just putting so much on our defense to just really hold us in these games and pound the football and just play that type of game, and hopefully it really works out. But Aaron Donald is something I can't wait to like. He's a guy you pay ticket to watch.
Well, it sounds like you guys are describing the Jeff Fisher 8-8 plan. Like that's what I'm thinking.
8-8 is good because then it puts off for 1 year that Jeff Fisher gets to keep his job again.
Yeah, exactly, I'm not even saying that condescendingly. I think moving from one city to another, there's so much that goes into that. I think having a rookie quarterback, I think there's a ton that goes into that as far as it being tough right out of the gate and early. And, just the amount of change that's on the defense, it just takes some time to sync it all up. Like, when I say 8-8, I don't say that kind of stuff. I mean, I think that would be a pretty solid year with as much change
for a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, let's just hope that the team chemistry is going along with all those factors. I don't want all these people coming to this big city with all these distractions and TV shows and a little bit of celebrity, trying to interfere with some of that chemistry. So, as long as they can keep that chemistry on both offense and defense, it'll be ideal.
And you're right. When you step back and you look at it, 8-8 with all the change from moving across the country and losing pieces, adding pieces, number one pick, rookies, and big positions, 8-8 would be really good. Me and James were talking the other day. We're like, what if we're doing this podcast and all of a sudden 9 games in and they're 1-8? Like, what are we going to talk about? Like, hey guys, we're going to turn it around. Yeah. So 8-8, you're right. It would be good, but I'm an emotional person. I want more wins.
Well, of course. Yeah. Just not against the Seahawks, please. Like, you guys have beat the hell out of the Niners and the Cardinals.
We'll do 1-1.
I feel like that's a good compromise after last year. But one of the things that I've been hearing, listening to Seattle sports radio, we're in the position where our general manager and coach are going into their final year of their contract. And I have to say that there's a little bit of talk, a little bit of concern, a little bit of worry with Pete Carroll having come from USC that if things don't get done, and like you mentioned, with Jeff Fisher going into the final years of his contract, with Snead going into this final year, there's this worry and concern in Seattle that we may lose our coach and maybe even our GM. Has there been any talk about that in LA?
It's right as you started talking, I was like, I know where he's going, and I love it. No one started talking, but you know what? We'll start talking about it. We'll plant that seed out here in LA. I love it because I am a huge Pete Carroll fan, and when they got him, I was so excited for Seattle. But I don't honestly. I mean, I don't think he's going anywhere. He shouldn't. He's got a good setup out there in the Northwest, and they're kind of letting him do his Pete-isms. He's doing whatever he wants, and it's working. But if he wants to come back down to California, I know he left in a quick hurry, but we'll invite him back really quick too.
Yeah, I don't think it'll happen either, but it's just one of those. It's starting to become part of the discussion now that contract talks have gone on as long as they have. And with that deal being there, just there's always going to be until the contract is signed. Right. I think there's going to be some kind of concern, and I was just curious if that was bleeding over into the minds of Rams fans.
We'll help it bleed over.
Absolutely. I mean,
okay.
And Fisher said they're in this together, and I think that they're aware of their contract situation, and so like we said in the beginning, in all aspects, all eyes on Rams right now.
And I think that's why they made all these moves. If they're going to go out and you got 1 year left, go out with a bang and let someone else clean up with the mess.
Well, guys, for those folks that now, obviously, people that listen to this show, they're Seahawks fans, but we have fans that have friends that may be Rams fans, and if they want to find the show, where do they go to find you guys?
So we are on iTunes. You can search Rams Podcast, LA Rams Podcast. We post our show to our website, ramspodcast.com, and we're really involved on the social media side. Our Instagram's been blowing up lately, and all of our handles on social are at Rams Podcast, and we're on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
Well, guys, really wanted to thank you for coming on the show, giving us some insight of what the Rams have been doing going into this season. And yes, we face you guys twice this year, and so we may be talking again as these games get closer.
Well, hey, we appreciate you guys having us on. We know it's a division rival, and but we enjoy talking football at any point, so we'll talk with anybody at any time. And you guys start thinking about that Gurley bet and what you guys want to do.
Yeah. Let's keep that conversation going.
Yeah, I think that could be a fun talk throughout the season.
That would be. I'd be stoked to come down or come on your guys' show too and talk about it with your guys' listeners and all that. I think that'd be a fun time.
Yeah, 100%. We'd love to have you guys on.
And see, the thing with me is any bet can't involve like wearing actual Rams like clothing or gear, because I don't know about you, Adam, but I always have to prepare myself for a bet that I don't want to follow through on. And to me,
getting a little
the wearing of the actual the wearing of the actual clothing. To me, it goes too far. Because pictures can be taken, and it just
and it burns. It burns when you put on the Ram stuff. Yeah. Awesome, guys. Well, hey, we appreciate it a lot. And usually we end the show with the Go Hawks, but I think we can come together on something here, and that is screw the Niners.
All right. Screw the Niners.
Very good. And the Cardinals, too.
And the Cardinals. Their stupid show.
Bruce Arians and his stupid hat.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Seahawkers Podcast is the official podcast of the official booster club of the Seattle Seahawks. And coming up in Seahawkers news, the Seahawkers annual barbecue coming up July 30th in Bellevue at Vasa Park. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that the right way, but
hard telling, not knowing. Yeah.
Go to Seahawkers.org. You can check it out there on what to bring based on your last name. All Seahawker members invited. Make sure you RSVP by early next week so they can have just a good idea of who's coming. So, yes, July 30th in Bellevue, 2 to 8 p.m.
Yeah, get out there, mingle with your other 12s, and I like that their events always focus around food, seemingly.
Yeah.
Like, that's solid. And hey, if the barbecue's anywhere close to as good as the banquet was, as far as the food category, you'd be dumb not to go.
Exactly. Now, they're going to have hamburgers, hot dogs, and then, potluck for everything else.
Solid. That sounds awesome, man.
So, yeah, we're getting into the second half of the show. And, Adam, an important question came up in this discussion with the Rams podcast.
Yeah.
How are we going to settle this bet between Gurley and Rawls? Who comes out on the top? How are we going to make this work?
Okay, well, I mean, how we settle it is whoever has the most rushing yards at the end of the year. Right. We made that clear, right?
We made that clear, but what are the
what are the stakes?
What are the stakes? That's the important thing.
What's up for look, man, I don't know. Like, I threw out maybe getting a Boz haircut, or maybe we could do something along those lines, or I know you were out on the idea of. See, I figured you were out on the bet altogether. Like, I felt like I took this on for me.
Well, if you want to take on a jersey wearing thing, that is definitely on you. I'm totally out when it comes to putting on another team's jersey.
Whatever. That only burns for a few seconds. Like, that's fine. I mean, I can always deny that, like, in the back of my brain that it ever happened. A lot like the 5th grade. Like, I can just forget.
You can just forget about that.
Yeah, just block it out. So, I don't know. But I think the best way to do this, though, Brandon, because we never really did settle on the terms, because, Bear and I were kind of go back and forth there. I think that you guys, the listeners, need to come up with some ideas for us. Give us some ideas. And do we have Bear's Twitter handle? Because my Twitter handle is @AdamTheRant. So hit me up on there, and, maybe hashtag Rawls Gurley. That's how we do that. You put Rawls first. So, so hashtag Rawls Gurley.
Better put Rawls first.
Yeah, exactly. And go ahead and make your suggestion as to what the bet should be between myself and Bear. And go ahead and tag him as well. And that is...
it's @LA_RamblingBear. I guess you don't have to worry about capital letters on Twitter. So, yes, Rambling Bear.
Okay. LA_RamBling.
Bling.
Okay. Rambling Bear.
Yeah.
Oh, so like a rambling bear, not like Ram and Bling.
Right.
I gotcha.
I don't know.
Okay.
Ram Bling. And maybe he wears like a big Ram, like Mr. T necklace.
Yeah. So that's kind of punny. All right. Yeah. So @LA_Rambling Bear. Go ahead and do that. Give us your suggestions for what the bet should be, because he was all in and he felt pretty cocky about it.
He does.
Pretty cocky.
He feels pretty good about Todd Gurley, even though he's going to get shut down on 1st and 2nd down, and Jared Goff or whoever his quarterback's going to be forced to throw on 3rd down. And
because they're going to be down 14 points
right.
by halftime every game. Yeah.
And the defense can only hold up for so long.
Exactly. And they're big on that defense, man. And I feel like that defense takes a step back. I don't see you losing your quote unquote number one corner and somehow you got better. I don't see you losing guys that were perennial players on that defense like James Laurinaitis and being like, oh, yeah, we got better. It's going to be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they didn't draft anybody to come in behind them because they couldn't.
Right. Yeah, because they traded all that away for a guy who may not play for a while. So, good luck with that. Good luck with that. But anyways, that'll be fun. So get us your suggestions, and it could be a long season if Rawls gets injured.
Well, another thing to mention, we mentioned Patreon a little bit before, and how that helped make the Prisco's World theme happen. Another thing with Patreon, you can go to getintheflock.com, and Adam, our Pick'em League is going to be starting up soon. There's going to be monthly giveaways as part of the Pick'em League, and at the end of the year, I have a KJ Wright autographed football is going to be one of the top prizes for our Pick'em League. So if you want to get into that, getintheflock.com and sign up on Patreon to be one of our patrons. Yeah, and we'll have to see how we're going to do the pick show, because for those who tune into the pick show and know our buddy Jared Tim, he's going to be a father. Yeah. So that was a little unexpected, but he's excited. It's going to be cool. But, with a newborn, running around, well, I guess not running around, more just like squirming, pooping, and crying. It might be tough to get him on the show a lot. We'll see how that works out.
But we'll figure out a way. But we definitely want to do the Pick'em League again this year. That's a lot of fun. We like the trash talk back and forth. And, because of you guys' donations, there's going to be prizes. It's going to be fun. Well, what do you say, Adam? We get into some do better and better at life. All right, man. I know you've got to do better this week. I know you've got to do better this week. I know we've got to do better this week. We're going to do a tandem do better this week. It's a tandem do better. It's kind of like the 2-man bobsled. This is how we're doing it. All right, man. Like I'm gonna give us a shove off the cliff here, and I'm gonna let you wrap it up here. All right. So okay. Basically, I don't know how this happened. I thought this franchise, this thing I had to endure years ago with these squeaky voices cartoons called Pokemons, was long and dead and buried. But no, Brandon, like a zombie, a cartoon zombie coming back as a video game, my life, my world, my TV watching, everything has been plagued with Pokemon freaking Go. What the hell is this? What is this? And it's billed as a way to get kids outside, Brandon. It's a way to get kids outside. You know how you get kids outside? You slap their phone out of their hand, and you take them outside, and you give them a ball. You don't give them a cell phone outside and say, enjoy the outdoors while you stare at your stupid screen, at these stupid little animations, trying to collect stupid things that don't freaking exist. This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. People, the complete transformation into dronage is upon us. I know you're concerned about this too, Brandon. Well, I think where you're a little bit, I mean, there is a ball aspect. Like, isn't the Pokeball what you throw to collect these things? And you can't throw a fake ball. Can't do it. It doesn't work? No. It's just it's why esports are not sports, because you're not actually doing it. Well, see, to me, this whole idea, the Pokemon Go and the augmented reality deal, people are making this big deal about augmented reality. And to me, we can do augmented reality at them anytime we want. I mean, if you're not listening to this show right now with headphones, go ahead and pause it, put your headphones in and hit play. I'll give you a moment. Okay. Hey, you. Yes, I'm now talking directly to you. I'm not talking to Adam. Adam is he's on my Skype screen, but I am talking to you right now. Look to your left. You see that? Yeah, me too. I see that. That thing that you're looking at right now, that thing right there, it is better at life than Skip Bayless. See, we can do it. We can do the augmented. It felt real, didn't it? I bet you're listening, and it felt real to you right in your headphones. It did. I don't know. It felt like a degree of Inception or some nonsense. But here's the thing. We don't need augmented reality, Brandon. Nobody can handle the real reality. We have a reality TV star doing speeches for president right now, going against some gal who couldn't tell the truth to save her life. This is where we are. I can't handle the reality, let alone some augmented reality. I don't need to see maybe that explains Donald Trump's hair, is that it's actually like a digital illusion.
That's a Pokemon. You need to catch it.
Yeah, I don't know. The grasp on reality is slipping away. We don't need augmented reality. And for that, I believe the creators of this ludicrous game that has made kids into walking zombies that I'm sure is going to lead them into traffic at some point, they need to do better.
All right.
I hate Pokemon Go.
I can tell.
I talked to this gal who works in the deli at Albertsons, right?
Yeah.
And she's just talking to this mom, walks by. And she's like, oh, how's your day going? Oh, it's been great. You know, all that. Except for my son didn't find any eggs in here. Walks out.
Oh, no.
Sorry. Just realize your fake reality didn't exist in my store.
I am fortunate that my kids are a little bit too young. And it's not within the school year, too. So this happening in summer and not having friends that play this game could be the best thing that ever happened to me.
Right. See, what I'm hoping is that somehow with my daughter being in France over these last 3 weeks here, that she's somehow escaped this unharmed. Like, right. I don't know. She's 13, man. This seems like right in that wheelhouse.
It could be right in her wheelhouse.
But all I do know is that since she uses my iTunes account, that when she downloads an app, it shows up on my phone. I have not seen Pokemon Go show up on my phone.
Ah, well then. She could be missing out.
Bullet dodged. All right, man. How do we say, or what do you say we get on to who's better at life than Skip Bayless this week?
Let's do it.
All right, man. I'll go ahead and start. Mine is a little bit football related this time. Well, it's a lot of bit football related. It's for one Charles. Yeah, for one Charles Peanut Tillman, former Bears cornerback, and then also cornerback for the Carolina Panthers. This is a player I've respected a lot over the course of his career. Very productive. He was one of the cornerstones of those very good Bear defenses under Lovie Smith. They carried Rex Grossman to a Super Bowl. Let me repeat that. This defense that he was a cornerstone of carried Rex Grossman to a Super Bowl. That happened.
It wasn't. They didn't get the win, but Peyton Manning was able to get his win that year.
Look, if Rex Grossman had ever won a Super Bowl in his career, like the space-time continuum would have totally broken.
Yeah, I think so.
That couldn't have happened.
Yeah.
So that he couldn't overcome that. But Peanut Tillman, definitely known for the peanut punch, and he's one of the all-time greats at forcing fumbles.
44 forced fumbles over his entire career. I went to go look at him because I was curious. How does that stack up to like a Hall of Fame defensive lineman? The thing that frustrated me, the NFL does not keep an official forced fumble stat. I don't know how we're going to get a pancake stat for offensive linemen if they don't even keep track of forced fumbles over the career history of players. Because if 44 forced fumbles, I did find out, though, on the Chicago Bears page where they were hyping him up, is that since, I think, 2003, Peanut Tillman did have more than any other player in the NFL.
Wow, and that's impressive at the cornerback position. But he turned
because
it into
you would expect that stat from a defensive lineman, right?
Or a linebacker, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Some guy that goes after the quarterback or is hitting, running backs in the hole. Somebody who's not knocking the ball out of wide receivers' hands.
Right, because you think a linebacker who is meeting the running back in the hole play after play after play, the running back is literally holding the ball when he hits him. Whereas Peanut Tillman playing cornerback, how many times did the ball was overthrown, underthrown, or he just knocked it down simply, let alone have him catch it, be in his zone, and then knock the ball out? That's pretty impressive for a guy there.
944 tackles with the Bears, 36 interceptions, and that was even before he went to play for the Panthers, 113 pass breakups. Pretty impressive.
Very impressive. One of the best to do it in his generation. I'm a big fan of Charles Peanut Tillman. But one of the things that I like best about him, Brandon, what makes him better at life in his retirement. Have you seen the 3-minute video of his retirement announcement? Now, a little more elaborate than Marshawn Lynch, granted, but it was definitely
if you're going to go out, you go out punching.
You go out punching. And so basically what it is 3 minutes of him walking around and terrorizing his family, like just knocking stuff out of their hands for no reason. And there's a great sound effect every time, like every time he knocks something out of their hand, man. And if you haven't watched it, watch it. But here's the cool part about it. It's funny, you'll laugh. But the best part is last thing he does is he punches his time clock on his last day, clearly. He has his cleats over his shoulder, puts his time card in the time card rack, hangs up his cleats on the time card rack, and walks away.
Nice.
And then a little message thanking everybody for their support. Very classy. One of the best in his generation. Probably the best ever to be forcing the fumble because it's all about the ball. He would have played awesome in a Pete Carroll defense. Charles Tillman, better at life than Skip Bayless.
I would put Charles Tillman in the Hall of Fame just because the peanut punch. I mean, who else has a signature move like that?
Yeah, he did something extraordinary, right?
Yeah.
For a long period of time.
Right.
It wasn't just a flash in the pan thing.
Right.
Yeah, he may not be first ballot or anything, but he's a guy I'd consider for sure.
Yeah. Well, like how the sack stat was never a part of in the NFL back in the day. This is something they need to keep track of because of Charles Tillman.
I agree, man. I agree. All right, who's you got?
Well, I'm going back to our Nintendo discussion. Forget Pokemon Go. Nintendo just dropped a bombshell that I think we need to be aware of, and that's they're coming out with their NES Classic Edition, Adam. And this is the video gaming we need to be introducing our children to is the classics. And 30 built-in games. One of those games, Tecmo Bowl.
You don't need another one.
No.
I saw they put in Super Contra rather than just Contra.
That was a mistake.
That's a mistake to me. Because if you don't have up, down, left, right, BA, select, start, what are you doing? What are you doing? That needs to be in there.
I think that is in Super Contra. And if not, it's in, if they have, Life Force. No, they had Gradius. Is Gradius the other one that you can do that with? Any of the Konami games, I think. But yes.
Oh, really?
Okay. I think so. So the thing that bummed me out, though, was seeing that, like, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out isn't Mike Tyson's Punch-Out anymore. It's just Punch-Out. And they don't have Mike Tyson as the end boss.
What?
It's like just some dude it's Mr. Dream.
Okay, executives at Nintendo, just pay the man.
Pay the man.
Pay the man with the lisp and like make it Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. You can't do that. That's just being cheap.
I know.
That's being cheap.
I know.
Mike Tyson works for cheap now. Come on.
But you got Excite Bike, Bubble Bobble, Castlevania, Ninja Gaiden, Zelda, and Mario games. And then Mega Man 2, which really is the only Mega Man that you really need.
That's the only Mega Man. Super Mario Brothers 3, which I feel like is the best of the Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
Did it have Double Dragon?
It had Double Dragon 2.
Ooh, okay. Yeah,
which is, I think, the better of the Double Dragons.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So, okay. I'm on board.
But yes, coming out in November. So for Nintendo, ensuring what's going to be at the top of my Christmas list already here in July. I don't even have to think about it anymore.
Yeah, you're right.
Better at life than Skip Bayless.
Solid, dude. Solid. Because here's the big problem with, I still have my original Nintendo.
Yeah.
And the little pins in the Nintendo deck.
Yeah.
They've been worn out so much since I was like 8 that like it just.
The blowing in the cartridge just doesn't work anymore?
No, you can blow on it, you can spit on it, you can jiggle it, you can put a credit card in and like jam it in there to like try to make it tighter.
Yeah.
Like it just it finally bit the dust this last year. So
just in time.
This is going to be a must have.
Nintendo knew. They knew that it was on its last legs for you.
Yeah. So good call, man. Well, that was a fun show this week, Brandon. Had some rivals. I like talking to the rivals, especially when they take a stupid bet. And that's going to be fun.
That you know you're going to win.
Oh, I know I'm going to win.
We have a new theme for our Prisco's World segment.
That was solid.
I'm going to look forward to doing that now, moving forward.
Yeah.
That segment. Because I was getting a little bit tired of Pete Prisco, but now I think that's going to extend the life of that segment a little bit longer.
I think it will too. Well, man, now that we've made the Pete Prisco segment one of the best segments of the show going forward, I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.